You're listening to Stories to Create with your host, Cornell Bunting. Author, motivational speaker, and founder of ES Each Episode. Cornell sits down with inspiring voices to uncover the stories that shape who we are and who we're becoming. Get ready to listen, learn, and be inspired. The show starts now.
All right, so welcome to another episode of Stories to Create podcast right here at ES Club. I'm your host, Cornell Bunting. I am joined by the lovely Koko Bella that's going to be co-hosting the show with me today, because when I tell you people, we have one of the most decorative individuals in Southwest Florida, and I am so excited. You have no idea, people. I'm like a kid in a candy store right now. Having this young man on the show, it's a beautiful thing. Please help us welcome to the show, Mr. Terry Tincher.
Thank you, Cornell, and you're using the term young very loosely, but I appreciate it.
You said loosely, yeah.
Very loosely.
You look young.
68 is probably not as
goodness.
young as I would like.
68?
Ooh,
You look good for 68.
I know,
Thank
right?
God.
I mean, 68, you all dapper down. Y'all should see the nails. Oh my God, the nails are giving me life. Life.
Decorative people. It's a beautiful thing. Oh my goodness. So, you know, our listeners, they always want us to dive in with our guests going back.
Okay.
So I want you to take her listeners back.
Okay.
Back, before the decorative Terry Tincher.
Gotcha.
Like, where you were born, grew up, all that.
I will give it to you. You ready for me to just spit it out?
I'm ready.
I'm ready. So I grew up in a little town outside Cincinnati, Ohio, called Hamilton. And that's where I went to high school.
Okay.
And I was pretty much a invisible person.
Whoa.
But you know what? No, because it's always like that.
Yeah.
You don't, when you see somebody like really like in your face, it was because something happened in their childhood that was like that.
Yeah.
Wow moment.
It was. And it's funny. It was funny. I taught myself how to play the guitar.
Okay.
And when I went to high school, I went to a giant high school, 2,000 kids. And so there were several junior highs that fed that school. So most of the kids there I didn't know. Oh. And no one knew that I knew how to play guitar.
What?
And I literally learned a song and signed up for the talent show. And once I played that song and sang it on stage, then everybody knew me.
Ooh.
And it was definitely a change in my life.
Yeah.
It literally was. It took me from being, and this was in the 70s.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Wow. From we don't know him, but where did he come from?
Right.
Exactly. It was probably as much of a shock to me as it was to them, to be honest with you. It was, but it was a transformative time. I mean, when I was in high school, it turned me into the human and that I am. And then from there, I whisked off to University of Cincinnati.
Oh, okay.
And I was a liberal arts major, had no idea what I wanted to do, none. I lived in the dorm, and within the first month or so of being in college, ran into an old high school friend.
Yeah.
Said, "Hey, I'm going to try out for cheerleading, but I need a guy partner to try out." And I had been in gymnastics in high school.
What?
So I tried out for cheerleading with this girl.
Yeah.
I ended up making it, and she did not.
No way! Come on! No.
Then when we were sophomores, she actually did get on the team, but there were 35,000 students on campus at Cincinnati, and there were 10 cheerleaders.
Wow. Was she mad at you that you made it?
No, she wasn't mad. She was in the ballet conservatory of Cincinnati, the ballet school.
Okay.
So it was nice because by the second year I was co-captain, and then she came on. She wasn't my partner, but she came on the team, and so again, it was a fluky, accidental thing that happened, because I would have never thought about cheerleading. I would have never thought of it. But suddenly, 35,000 students, 10 cheerleaders, literally everyone knew my name.
Wow.
Everyone saw me down there on the football field or on the bus. This was in the 70s, and Cincinnati had a great national reputation in basketball, especially. And so, again, a transformative moment, that a split-second decision turned me into somebody that I wasn't expecting.
Wow.
So for some reason, I was feeling like an introvert vibe back then, but you wasn't.
Yeah, I think in general, I probably am an introvert, but I don't play one on TV, so to speak. I literally now I'm probably the most confident conversationalist that I know. You know what I mean? I can literally talk to pretty much anybody about pretty much anything.
This is true.
Wow.
That I can agree with.
So I felt very lucky. You know, Cincinnati went through till. Keep in mind, let me set the stage for you.
Yes.
This was 1975. December of that year, Saturday Night Fever came out.
Ooh.
It was solid disco. My
I was
entire
just gonna say that.
college life was at the dance clubs at night. Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, Bee Gees, freaking Electric Light Orchestra. No, that was the music. And Mimi and I met my wife within the first month of going to Cincinnati. Of course, it was in the days of girls' dorms, boys' dorms, but we ate at the same place.
Wow.
And that's how they used to do. And I can remember saying to one of my fraternity brothers, "Who's that girl in the green T-shirt with the big boobs?" And he's like, "I don't know, but I'll find out for you." And she and I just had our 45th wedding anniversary.
Wow, that is amazing. So you got to tell me, because Bee Gees back then had a song, the
Staying Alive.
Did you have the boots?
I had all of it. I had the satin shirts with the giant collars and the white pants with the cloth belt with the double loop thing that hung down on the side. I think I saw myself as a hippie kid when I was in 5th, 6th grade. That's what I wanted. I wanted to have long hair. I wanted to be that. Yeah. And then, of course, society transitioned out of that and into disco. So I had the, keep in mind, I was a cheerleader. I was at the disco. I was polished off pretty much. You know what I mean?
Did you have the platform?
Of course I did.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. And the metal chokers.
Yeah, all that.
I literally had every piece of everything.
When all this was going on, how was your parents feeling?
You know what? It's funny you'd say that, because I have two brothers, both younger. One 2 years younger, one 10 years younger. Mm-hmm. And we couldn't be more opposite. Wow. My parents never figured me out. They literally didn't. They're 90 and 88. I go down there. My mom is always amazed by what I say, what my point of view is, what I'm doing, because my brothers are just super conservative, super straight-laced. And it was funny, as I got out of college in 1977, I left Cincinnati and started my construction business. Okay. I had been putting myself through college, running a concrete barrier wall machine in the summer.
Can we pause? How do you go from cheerleader to construction company?
Hey, let me just... I'm going to tell you how that happened. So I was making enough money. I was a union laborer. I was making enough money in the summertime for 3 months that I could pay for my room and board and my college tuition. And that was in the day when you could afford to do that.
Right.
I think it was $30 a credit hour.
Wow.
At that time. And I was taking 12 or 15 hours, so I could literally pay for it in upfront.
Wow.
And but no, I was really never cut from the construction cloth. Mm. But when I got out of college, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I had been studying art conservation. I thought I was going to end up in a museum scraping grease off old paintings.
Oh.
That's what I dreamed about doing, literally.
Yeah.
And I had my resumes out, and my brother Jim was going to start a construction company. He had got an engineering degree. And I said to him, hey, you should come out. It was in the summertime and check out these barrier wall machines. They're super specific. It was super high tech, and everybody needed it. Every construction job needed it.
Okay.
And damn, before I knew it, my brother and I went to our little local bank. Woman banker that was about 75 years old gave us $106,000. I know, it was like $1 billion to me. And I bought a machine, and we were working up there. This was 1979, 1980. Wow. I started in Cincinnati, had 5 or 6 employees. And then Jimmy Carter was the president, and interest rates were pretty icky.
Yeah.
They were in the 20s.
Yeah.
And so no jobs were going on in the Midwest. And somebody that I knew there that was a salesman for one of the ready mix companies literally said on the job one day, hey, I should get you go down to Cape Coral, Florida. My brother's a developer down there, and he can't find people to do curbs and gutters and sidewalks and whatnot. Right. And so brother-in-law came up Thanksgiving to meet the family. One thing led to another, a few beers later, and he's like, I'm going to find you some jobs in Cape Coral. We literally had to look on the map. We didn't know where Cape Coral, Florida was. We had no idea. Right. And that was 1980, 81. In the winter, I came here, and I was married. We didn't have any kids. My wife's a nurse. And I camped out at Fort Myers Beach Campground out there on San Carlos Boulevard, right there by the Love Boat, that campground. Yeah. And I camped there with 4 or 5 guys that came down, and my brother Jim, and we did the entrance to the forest in South Fort Myers. Yeah. One of the first projects I did, and daggone, a year later, the economy was still pretty crummy in the Midwest, and I was finishing up some jobs up there, and Mimi was pregnant with our son, and in February of 82, she had our son, Christian, who just turned 41, and he, and the next day after a 6-week checkup, the moving truck came, and we came to Bonita. I had a project down, a big shopping center project in Bonita Springs, so I rented a half of a duplex. And
so transitioning wasn't hard.
It was crazy because I'd never really spent any time away from my little pod place there in the Midwest. And, like my parents, they'd never been anywhere. They'd lived there. They grew up there. They worked there. And so I thought that was going to be me. I can remember saying to Mimi, probably in the summer of 81 or something, oh my God, I'm stuck in my hometown with my younger brother, and I'm not making any money, and this ain't what I got in mind. And within a year, I was like, how would you feel about moving across the country?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Every young person carries a story of hope, of struggle, of dreams waiting to rise. But in too many underserved communities, those stories go unheard.
At ease, Inc. Everyone has a story. We believe every voice deserves a chance through mentorship, empowering programs, and storytelling workshops. We help youth discover their purpose, strengthen their mindset, and build a future they can be proud of.
From classrooms in Jamaica to communities across Southwest Florida,
ES is changing lives,
one story at a time.
But we can't do it alone. Join us, become a mentor, volunteer, donate, help us fuel the next generation of leaders, creators, and change makers.
Visit ahas.org today, because when you help a young person share their story, you help them change their world.
Da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum,
And literally, that's how it happened. We just were super lucky. And Mimi and I came with this brand new little baby. And, 32 years later, I retired in 2003 from that company.
Wow.
He did that. So in that old time, because I've heard stories on the life, like, living under that Jimmy Carter presidency and stuff like that. The work environment, a lot of people could smoke in the workplace and stuff like that. It was that chill.
Oh, yeah, it was super chill. I mean, well, you got to keep in mind, people smoked everywhere. In those days, probably 40 or 50% of the population were cigarette smokers.
Oh, my
so
goodness.
pretty much everywhere. When I moved back from Cincinnati to my little hometown of Hamilton, which is about an hour north of Cincy, between there and Dayton, I took a job as an orderly in a hospital while we were putting the paperwork together and starting the construction business. And the nurses smoked at the nurses' station.
Oh my
You would walk up to the nurses' station, they have an ashtray right there. And they would be smoking in the hospital at the nurses' station.
Wow. Just like that.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Now when I see people smoke, I'm like, damn, 1950s. Seriously, you got to throw those things away.
Right.
I smoked for a long time. I haven't smoked since 2006.
Wow.
That's
So
good.
you stopped a good little bit ago. Now, the relationship with your siblings, what was that like, as you were coming up and your parents is trying to figure out?
Good question. So my brother Jim is an engineer, and he is super great human being.
Yeah.
But he can literally figure out any religious or philosophical question with a calculator, a pencil, and a ruler. He's literally that kind of a thinker. And so it was super weird because we are literally totally opposite.
Yeah.
And he handled the engineering side of the business, the estimating, all the boys in the field, all the equipment, all of that. I was the insurance, payroll, collections, accounting, everything inside, bonding.
Yeah.
So I got to do what I do best, which was talk to people and tell them how the grass grows. And then he did what he did. So we literally had a great business working relationship. That's because he knew what he did best and I knew what I did best.
So mom was excited about that.
Yeah, and I think mom was very excited about that. It's funny you said earlier about how did you get from construction art to construction. So when I very first started working construction, which would have been like in 1973, but when I was still in high school, I worked in the summer. And I worked with a guy who was a concrete finisher, and his name was Mose Barnes. I'm sure he's dead and gone. But Mose literally signed his check with an X on Friday and gave it to his girl.
Yes,
literally no education whatsoever. But listen, literally said the smartest thing I've ever heard a human say, and it literally made a huge difference in my life. It was the very first summer I was working, and I was not a construction guy. I was not one cell in my body. And Mo said to me one day at lunch, as we was eating our sack lunch under a tree in the middle of nowhere, getting ready to pour some more concrete after lunch. And he said to me, I see you're struggling with this concrete stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what, Mose, I just don't know where I fit in. He's like, you got to do like me. I make art every day. And I'm like, what do you mean, Mose? He's like, listen, when I dig a ditch, I make the sides perfectly straight. And I make the dirt pile in a perfect row and a perfect little mound. Wow. And let me tell you, here I am 50 years later. Yeah. And I can't tell you how many times those words came to me from Mose. Probably one of the most uneducated, sophisticated persons that I ever met, but literally made a huge difference because over the years, as I continued to struggle with what my DNA was saying and what I was actually doing, it made a huge difference. It really did. I think fondly of that.
Yeah.
No, I do.
Man, big ups to
Beautiful.
Mo, man.
Right
Whatever
on,
you
right?
are, that's wild right there. Because you do take the art seriously too, though.
I do. It's always back through history. It's always been the job of the artist to literally hold up a mirror to society to let them see, reflect back to them. A lot of times artists paint a picture and they wanted to shout something off the wall. They want to shout it out.
Yeah.
But the great artist, it's the person looking at it that shouts.
Right.
This is true.
Because it's about making people think, about making people consider different options. I just had a buddy of mine pass away at 55 years old, and we couldn't have been more different politically.
Wow.
We could not have been more different.
Yeah.
And every time I'd get on social media and I would post even the least empathetic thing or whatever, he would literally chop me up.
Wow.
But I had known this guy since I was like 17, and I ran into him a couple of months ago at a function, and I literally said to him, and I can say his first name, it's Jeff.
Yeah.
And I said, man, Jeff, it's so great to see you. We hugged. It was super great.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're just exactly alike.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, we make people think.
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, you gotta be able to take everybody's point of view and,
Yeah.
because people stand in different places. The sun shines different on people. If you're a union steel worker, you love the union. If you own the company, you literally hate their guts. So the reality is that people are in a different place, so they see things differently.
Yeah.
And I've always prided myself. It's probably my biggest frustration over the last 5 or 10 years because sometimes I can't make sense of it.
Right.
And it really, I have to not watch it. I have to not watch the news as much as I would love to, because I'm a news guy. I'm a politics guy. I love everything about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes things don't make sense.
Yeah. I stopped watching the news years ago because I get depressed. Yeah.
It makes
I
me
have
break
to.
out in a rash.
Yeah, that part.
No,
And
for
I'm just
sure.
like, you know what? This is really messing with my mental health. I gotta stop.
Yeah.
Because especially when the big C came out, it was just like, okay, my life is over. Because I'm a germaphobe, so I'm just like, literally, my life has just came to a halt. So it was just like the news was just making it like more and more amplified. I'm just like, I gotta stop. I gotta get off.
All right, goodness. And you said something just now, Terry, that I don't think a lot of people understood. I never really understood why company owners up north never liked the union, but they had to work with the union.
You know what? I did it, and I get it. Again, I think it's it's a little bit like the situation that we're in society, and the fact that people are resistant to things they can't control and that they can't change.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of times people who own small businesses or business where their union workers are involved, that they feel like it's an impingement on their relationship with their employees.
Right.
Now, when I was in Ohio, we were strictly a union company. We used union because that's how you did state jobs, schools, that's why you did the union thing.
Right.
But then when I moved to Florida, this was like the wide open spaces.
Yeah.
And so it was quite the transition because that was the environment I grew up in.
Right.
But I could call at 7:00 in the morning and get trained workers to come out.
Right.
And then when I came to Florida, I didn't have that option. I couldn't find trained workers. I literally had to pick people out and train them and make them and be a part. But, and I retired from that company, almost 20 years ago. I can't even believe it.
Yeah.
But a lot of those employees, 2 of the 6 that came here with us from Ohio are still there.
I still got
And probably, I don't know, I'd say they got 150, 200 employees, probably 20 or 25 have been there for 20, 30 years. I mean,
Wow.
We had the mentality of it being a team effort,
Right.
Making your employees feel they're part of this process and being a part of the process. And, my dad said to me many years ago, good people are hard to find. You have to find them, and then you have to let them go. You have to let them do what they do best. They might not do it exactly like you're going to do it. They might not use as many nails in each board as you want to nail. But the reality is that you have to motivate people and give them the sense of accomplishment that you get as a business owner, at the end of the day. I think that's something that's missing in our work environment, because so many things are corporate, and it's literally put in your 36 hours. You're just under full time. We got you. We don't pay. Hey, listen, I understand people's frustration with that situation. Yeah. It's very hard because you don't have a relationship with that you want to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the things when organization would put on these art shows, and they have different artists come in bringing their work, you were one of those people that they look to say, this is a good art right here. And you had artists that was like, okay, what do I need to do to impress Terry? What was that? Take us through that a little bit for the listeners to understand.
Well, you know what? It's sort of like what we talked about employees earlier, in the fact that, people, especially artists, have to find out what they do best. It's like a singer or a writer or an artist. People would bring me their portfolios early on, and it would have like 3 works like this and 2 works like this and 5 works that were pencil drawings. And I'm like, you know what? Think about it like this. So you're not a super art person, but when I say to you Picasso or Monet, we know what that looks like in our head. No matter whether it's a portrait or a drawing or a painting or anything, we know what that looks like. And I could go through hundreds of artists. I know what their work looks like from a mile away. Levier, Cezanne. I know what pointillist. You know what that looks like in your brain. And so I always emphasized with artists, and I trusted my own instinct a lot of times about what I liked or what I thought was cohesively smart, that was that this person was operating at their best level when they were doing this. Because a lot of times, they'd be like, how come I can't get a gallery in New York? I sent my portfolio. Well, you have like 5 or 6 different artists in that portfolio. You need to figure out who you are and what you want to be and how you want to be seen. And once you do that, then you got to stick with it. You got to own it. You got to live it. I had the glorious opportunity to work with Marcus Jansen. I worked with him for about 2 or 3 years early on before his career super kicked off. And, Marcus is an amazing human being. He literally knows what he does best, and he cares. And if you look at Marcus's work, it is very reminiscent of works even from early on in the Middle Ages, because artists were like the newspaper. They were like the person who told you what was happening or what were important issues. You see all these religious paintings from the Renaissance and whatnot. I mean, the church was in control. This was the news. These were the situations that controlled people's lives. And I see Marcus, he does the same. He punches us in the face sometimes with environmental issues and political issues and issues that need to be translated to people in a language that they can understand. And some people visually, that's the way to do it. You know what I mean? As opposed to some arduous 600 word, you know. You know.
I know. And I realized that was one of the struggle with a lot of artists here. It was hard for them to identify who they really were.
That's right.
Well, do you think they were just doing it for the recognition of having a skill to do certain things, or just being able to put something on a canvas?
I think that I think being an artist is something that is just an innate desire to create. You know, there are so many people here in this town that are so talented artist-wise, and I don't think they have the ability to stop doing it. Even the person who goes and does the drawing classes at the Alliance for the Arts or whatever, you know, it's a desire, like the desire that we all have to leave something that's lasting, and you know, you know, it's funny. I being 68, I mean, and I've lost a lot of my cronies. I had a friend from high school the other day. That's my friend on social media. In fact, he did the little drawing that I used for my Facebook. That little pencil drawing that I used. And he was at the Louvre in Paris. And he took a picture of a sculpture, and he said, I would have liked to have got a better picture, but I couldn't get my wheelchair any closer.
Oh, no.
And it really pricked my ears up. Really, when you do get to this age, you were very reflective and understand how fragile the aging process is, because there's just no guarantee from one day to the next what's going to happen. And making the best of it, like, I got 1 million balls in the air right now, and but, you know, real estate and whatnot. And the reality is, you just take one thing at a time. I believe in it. I'm going to commit to this and see how the wave lays up on the beach.
That is amazing. Did your parents ever taken into art? Was there any at the house?
No, we weren't art people at all. In fact, I had these 2 brass plaques that my mom got at the local furniture store, and that was literally the fine art in our house. And no, they didn't. They really did not. They were not. There was nothing about art. When I was very young, we went to church, and my parents would sing in the car. When we were kids, my brothers and I would all, of course, be banging around in the station wagon in the back, no seatbelts. And but we would, but they would sing. But that was probably the most artistic thing about my parents. They didn't paint or. No, my dad was super crafty as far as like building a barn in the backyard, or he would change the patio, or he would do this or that. He had his creative outlets, although you wouldn't call them.
Right. When you got as big as you got with, you know, the pieces and what you were doing with the work, how did your parents take that?
I don't think they've made sense of it. I don't think they've made sense of it to this point. It's just, you know, it's just not a point of view that they understand. You know, I've always been a musician and an artist and a writer, and my brothers have been like, you know,
straight and narrow.
Not outside the lines at all. And the reality is I think if you would ask my mom and dad in private, I think my mom and dad have got a kick out of the places I've put them and the things that I've done, like being on the board at Florida Rap and being on the board with people like Scott Saxon from Barbara B. Mann. And then George Jones is coming. And then I call Scott on the phone and I'm like, hey, I need to get my dad backstage to meet George Jones. And my dad was
Right.
literally 82 years old,
Yeah.
same age as George Jones, but it meant the life to my dad.
Yeah.
And I got a great picture of him and George Jones.
That's amazing.
Wow.
So you know what? Honestly, I think I've kept him entertained over the years.
That's beautiful. That's
For sure.
They probably say we never figured out Terry, but
No, they never. I can
But
assure
you figured it out.
I can.
They didn't figure it out, but you figured it out.
I figured it out, but I don't think they figured it out yet. But hey, I am so lucky
yeah,
that I'm 68 years old. I still got my mom and dad. They still live at home. They still drive around.
Wow.
They do their own thing. I
Yeah.
mean, their health is fragile. They're fragile, but you know what? They're good.
yeah. For listeners, like business mind individuals that trying to figure out when is the right time for them to sell a business that they own. When do you know?
I don't think you ever actually know. You have to. The value of a business is so tied to the individual.
Mhm.
The selling of a business is based on its revenues and its banking relationships and its contracts and things like that.
Right.
But the magic that makes the business happen
Yeah.
is that guy that's sitting in the office at 5 o'clock in the morning when no one else comes in till 7 and is there at 7 o'clock at night. The magic is that I love this business.
Yeah.
I love where it's put me. I love the placement that it's let me have in this town or
Right.
wherever, again, not being a construction person, and then coming to Fort Myers in the early 80s
Yeah.
when this place was super quiet,
Right.
and being an arts guy,
Yeah.
I immediately magnetized to other people
Yeah.
that were art related and that had small businesses. Mark Lauren, for instance, he had just started his jewelry business down there on
Right.
McGregor.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've literally known him for 35. Nick Ortino, that owns Salon Nicholas,
Yes.
one of the first
Yeah.
people
Wow.
that I ever met here. And the reality is that selling a business is hard because it's strictly numbers.
Mhm.
But what makes for a successful business literally has nothing to do with that.
Right.
Because you have to have a commitment and a love of what comes from owning a business.
Right.
And
Right.
that
So-
is, and people say, oh, it's freedom. Oh my God, your time is your own. No, your time is not your own.
Right.
It's literally completely owned by that business. I can't tell you how many times in that 35 years of construction work that I had plane tickets in my hand and would say to my wife on Monday, damn, New York's not going to happen this
Oh,
weekend,
my
honey. I
goodness.
got a $200,000 payroll that's due at 2 o'clock, and I got some people that are jerking me around on money, and you know what? It's not going to happen.
Wow.
And you know what? It's that kind of magic and commitment that makes businesses successful. Knowing what you have to do, knowing what you can get away with,
Right.
building a relationship with the people that you have to make happy.
Right.
Like if you were the inspector on the job, I know everything about you.
Right.
Hey, not because I'm faking it,
Right.
but because I know you're somebody who I need to know, and I need to make sure that I make you happy,
Right.
which will make me successful.
Right.
And a lot of people just don't have that gift of conversation or that desire or that view to make those kinds of relationships happen. And that's what, when I had Space 39 downtown, hey, that place was 1,200 square feet. It was a tiny little place. And then I brought Manson there in the mid 90s
Right.
as a gallery.
Yeah.
And then the economy went super bad.
Yeah.
And so I went and I thought, well, I'll buy a liquor license. I'll turn that place into a jazz club. I'll get people juiced up and I'll sell them some art.
Yeah.
No, I mean literally, because I
go.
was selling like no art and nobody was coming in there because the economy was horrible.
Right.
And you know what? It gave me the opportunity to see things from that business point of view, that late night crawler, thing. And it was really good. I miss it.
Yeah.
But the thing I miss are the people. If you came in there, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be standing. I'm like an old Italian guy at the Italian restaurant who, when you go in there, he gives you the hug and he tells you how beautiful you look and how great your wife's dress looks. And making each customer feel like your place is their place.
Right.
And I did the same thing in the construction business unwittingly, unknowingly.
Yeah.
But even in the bar business or the restaurant business, they're going to come back.
Right.
And they're going to bring their next door neighbor.
Right.
And you know what? They're going to tell their friends. And you know what? It's what turns a business into success. As much as you can worry about the numbers and what's my margins and what's my hours and all of that, it's literally one person at a time. It's the relationships that you build with the musicians that are playing in your place, but also mostly with the customers. And like I said, making them think your place is their place.
Yeah. I like that. Because when you bring Madison, wasn't he like at the peak of his?
Who?
Madison.
He was at the peak.
Yeah.
And, it was, again, one of completely unplanned. A customer that I had came in, said, hey, I want to buy a Marilyn Manson watercolor. Yeah. I didn't even know Marilyn Manson did watercolors. Literally, I had no idea.
Right.
Listen, I literally got on Google, found out who Manson's manager was.
Right.
Tony Cielo, a guy in Los Angeles who also managed the Yeah Yeah Yeahs and Stone Temple Pilots and a lot of really good bands. And I left a message at his office. I mean, literally called on the phone that was in the freaking phone book and said, hey, this is who I am. I got a customer that's interested in Manson watercolors. Is there any way you can set me up with whoever? And I didn't get a phone call back, but I got an email. Yeah. And it had 4 images. And I showed them to the customer, and the customer ended up buying 2 of them. Wow. And they were like $8,000 or $9,000 paintings.
What?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And he bought 2. And so then I got the phone call from Tony Cielo saying, hey, how'd you feel about doing a show for Manson at your gallery? Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, well, you got to come to LA and you got to meet Manson and he got to be okay with it. Yeah. And
oh, man,
so he lived in, and I cannot remember the actress's name, but she was in The Big Valley, that TV show. Barbara Stanwyck, I think is her name. But Manson lived in her house in a neighborhood literally east of LA a little bit. It was like a neighborhood like where doctors lived. And there was this one house that was like on the hill. It was like the original house. And it was like a movie. Meet Manson at his house at midnight.
Wow.
And I literally flew to LA and drove out in the middle of the night, for me, middle of the night to midnight. Yeah. And we sat there, we drank absinthe, we chit-chatted, and he stood up and he's like, we're going to do this. Wow. And before I knew it, he was shipping me the paintings, and ended up having like 3,000 people come to 1,200 square feet. And I sold, I think, in Fort Myers, I sold $358,000 worth of paintings in one night.
Wow, that is amazing.
Oh, yeah. No, and this is a super conservative place. Yeah. But you know what? I had time to make it an event, and I had time to bring people into the fold. You know, people knew his reputation as a musician, and his watercolors were spectacularly mystical and magical. They are very cool. If you ever get a chance, just Google them. You'll see what the images look like. And it was so funny because he was dating Evan Rachel Wood.
Oh, at
the Hollywood at the time.
Actress,
and she was the same age as my youngest daughter, 23.
Yeah, she was young.
And I think Manson was like maybe 35, 37, something like that. Yeah. And they came here. It was the first time they'd ever been out in public together. Yeah. And I put them out at Sonesta Sanibel Harbor in one of those condos out there. And on Saturday, Manson and I and Evan came downtown so he could see the show in the daytime before the opening that night. And as we stood in front of Space 39, Manson grew up in West Palm Beach.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Well, listen to me. He went to high school in West Palm Beach. And he literally stood in front of the gallery. This was like lunchtime behind D-Hop. Yeah. He pointed over at the Indigo Room and he said to me, "That's the first place I ever played." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Listen, I had a band in West Palm Beach when I was in high school. And that's that place right there where the Indigo Room is was the first place he ever played outside of West Palm Beach." Wow. And it was literally 50 feet from the front door of the gallery. It was so wacky, coincidental.
It's almost like full circle.
It was like so wacky. Because literally he hadn't been there since he was in high school.
Right.
So super crazy.
That is amazing, man. And the crowd got what they wanted.
Oh, the crowd got what they wanted. I rented out the entire Celsius nightclub and had VIP upstairs, and Manson and all the reporters from Florida Weekly and everybody got to go up there and hang with them and literally and the club was packed. It just was it was a great event. It was super fun.
That is amazing. You guys rocked it, man. That's because at the time Kip was Kip. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was in the days after Jason and Mike. Right. But I still see Jason and Mike all the time. They're good humans.
Good dudes. So the dispenser business. You tap into that a little bit.
The dispensary business. Well, let me just tell you, boy, I'm not sure how much I want to say out loud. Other than I've been a smoker for my entire life. I don't smoke anymore because there are so many other good options. Only because I'm trying to preserve my lungs. But the reality is that really, my work with Seed and Bean and the restaurants, the cannabis restaurants, was a great experience. I really wanted to work with Cole Peacock. He was one of the original founders of Chico's. He knows how to build businesses. He knows how to franchise businesses. And it was a good opportunity for me. I had sold Space 39 in the summer of 2012. And Cole came to me. I had worked, I was a professional theater production manager for a couple of years. And that's when he came to me and said, "Hey, I got this idea. I got some partners with money, and I want you to help me do this. I want you to help me get it off the ground." So I worked there for 4 years. We have this store in Fort Myers. They have a store in Venice. They have 2 more stores under contract, one in the Cape at that new Cove project, and then they have a Sarasota location. Plus, they just took over the Twisted Vine location.
Oh, they did.
And they're going to run that as a little bit different concept, but they are also in the medical marijuana business and the CBD business. They have their own brands and their own seltzers and beers. They have a cannabis beer. But you know what? Help me start this business. Write the employee handbook, hire all the people, buy all the stuff, get it up and rolling. But I'm not really a restaurant guy. You know what? My time there was, I did what I said I'd do. And, I was ready to do something different. Now I just am a consultant and I like it. I work for a couple of different people. So
that is beautiful, man. Like I said, very decorative, people. Very decorative. Now, with all that business you had going on, in the work world, family coming, because you have some kids. What was that like?
The most important thing. No, I have a son, Christian. He's 41 years old. He got a master's at Full Sail, undergrad at USF in Tampa, and came home on the way home, car ride home. You know, Dad, I'm never going to do anything in history, right?
Oh, yeah?
He had just got a history degree from USF. Nope, I'm going to go to Full Sail, and I'm going to get my master's in audio engineering, and I'm going to move to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And so that was exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Old Dad pitched up $38,000, and he went to Full Sail, which now that program is like $150,000, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But he moved to LA. He had a band there. He worked at Capitol Records as an engineer, Cherokee Studios, where a lot of big albums were done in the day.
Right.
And then had a band, Mud Luscious.
Okay.
And they did 2 or 3 albums. And then about maybe 5 years ago, he called me up and he's like, hey, I think I'm going to be a nurse. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, Adriana, her work is super good, and I want to be able to travel with her if her work moves around. And so that's his now wife. They just got married last year, but they've been together about 10 years. But she's the senior VP for Masterclass, the online school.
Yeah.
And so, like, when we're at their house in Los Angeles, she'll be like, hold on, I got to talk to Jeff Koons, or I got Martin Scorsese on hold because they're talking about their 3-hour class about what they're doing. So she has a super good job, and Chris wanted to be but they're still in LA. They live down near Long Beach. He's at Long Beach Memorial Hospital. He's a charge nurse there.
Wow.
Loves it. But I think he still does writing. He had a couple songs on the Where the Wild Things Are soundtrack.
That's amazing.
He's a writer, and so he still makes music, but it's not what he eats out of, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Sometimes sometimes I think if you try to eat out of what you love, it's just like me going into the contracting business instead of the art business. Right. You know what? I got to buy and sell paintings all over the world. Yeah. I got to do some super crazy stuff, own paintings by artists that I never dreamed I would ever own, because I was making money in the construction business. I could have never done that if I was. So I got to see it from the outside as opposed to from the inside. Okay. I didn't turn it out. And then I have Catherine, Kat, and she's my second, and she's super awesome. She's a PhD in economics, and right now she's working in the pathology business. She's 2 lovely little girls. Oh, yeah. Liliana and Anastasia, my granddaughters, 6 and 4. Yeah.
Aww,
they are like
lovely stages.
They are like Papa's favorites. They are like so much fun, and I get to spend time with them every week. So that's really super special. Yeah. And she's still here in Fort Myers. And then I have a youngest daughter, Courtney, and she lives out in the Cape, and she has a little boy, Ronan. Okay. And he's 2 years old and super fun. They're just great human beings. So they really are.
So now you kick back with your wife and just have fun with the grandkids.
Kicking back is probably not the perfect way to put it, because, even though I'm older, I still operate like I'm 45, pretty much. Yeah. And I still am writing every day, pretty much. Yeah. And I make art pretty much every day. And like, I buy and sell paintings for people. I just got a Mark Rothko and a Basquiat from a dealer in Los Angeles. Yeah. And I send those out to people that I know that are also dealers to see if they have customers. So every once in a while that'll happen. So I'm still got my finger in the art business. And what I'm doing right now, most of my time is between the Alliance for the Arts and the Shell Factory in North Fort Myers. Okay. Both people who I know, the owners and bosses, and just helping reconceptualize them and utilize their spaces as good as possible. At the Alliance, I'm helping them with some major construction projects. We got some big repairs going, and there's a lot of exciting things that are going to happen with both of those organizations over the next 5 years. So I want to be a part of that. It's fun for me.
Oh, definitely. Anything you're in is fun, man. We're not going to touch on, because we coming to the closing of the show. But we have an event that we're going to have you on coming up in November. This show goes beyond the show, so we don't necessarily need to touch on that. We're going to do a little video in a minute here.
Oh, boy.
Well, but one of the things for listeners right now, with a creative mind as yours, what would you say to those individuals that, they fear putting out what they really want to put out with that?
Wow, Cornell, that's a great question. And the reality is that I can speak to that because I am that.
Right.
And even to this day, I'm that. I'm my own worst critic and enemy, but I say to people who are creative, either I want to be an actor, I want to be an artist, I want to be a musician, I want to be an instrument player. A million people will tell you no. A million people will tell you that is crazy. You got to go to the factory and you got to get an 8 to 5 job and you got to work there for 30 years and you got to retire and you got, people just don't have the same perspective,
right,
the general population, as what artists, and I include all of that under that heading, and they don't realize, you don't have to be Pablo Picasso to be a successful artist.
Right.
There are many, 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 many successful artists that have a wonderful life and they create and they do their thing, and they're not Pablo Picasso. Right. But the reality is, it's the same with musicians. Yeah. If you want to be a musician, you want to play music. You want to play music every week, every day. And you know what? There's opportunity for that. So, it's about how you're going to choose to spend your time on this planet. Mm-hmm. I say, don't give up. I say, don't let people discourage you, because they don't understand the vision you have or the dream you have. It's like me telling you a story that I want to write a screenplay about, or I want to write a play about. Yeah. And I've done both successfully and had them made into movies. But the reality is that if I was to tell my mom that, she would think I was out of my mind.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Why would you spend time doing that, as opposed to what they spent their time doing, crocheting and knitting and making things and doing their thing and hanging out with their cronies? Everybody fills their time up with the things that fill them up.
Right.
And artists especially are that way. They don't really have a choice. And my words to them would be, follow your heart. Yeah. Don't let people say, oh, that's too angular. Oh, that's too circular. Oh, that's too flat. Oh, that's too high. Because the reality is, only the artist sees where it's heading. And you know what? I think we have to have them.
We have to have them. I like that. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
This conversation was for me.
Yeah.
Very much so. I'm taking a lot of tidbits away from this conversation, so I appreciate you.
Thank you.
It's good. I got to tell you, I know my listeners are really grateful for all the gems and the stories that was created here today. Now, for individuals that want to find Terry, where can they find Terry?
Well, I honestly, I don't have like an art page. I am on social media. You can find me, Terry Tincher, and my sweet smiling face. Yeah. My beard is hard to ignore because I have a good beard.
There you go.
But you can reach out to me on social media. And again, I have people reach out all the time. I review people's portfolios for them, or like I said, people reach out to me that have Grandma Salvador Dali's they want to sell, or they want to know, who do I go to?
Right.
It's not always, well, it's never about money for me.
Right.
It's
right.
literally never, ever about money.
Yeah.
It probably should have been over
Right.
the years more about money for me, but honestly, I don't even care about it.
Right.
I care about doing what I want to do, helping people be the best that they can be, whether it's in the restaurant business or the bar business or the music business or the art business or the kid rearing business. I mean, honestly, making people, supporting their vision and giving them the motivation to follow their own dreams.
Wow.
That's where I know my place is. Somebody said to me the other day, what do you do? I'm like, you know what? I make other people look good. I make other people, I help other people follow their dreams. That's what I want to do.
I love that.
I love it. Love it, love it.
Oh my
I
goodness.
just feel like a lot of people now are just hung up on titles, and you kind of summed up that titles really don't mean a lot.
Never.
Follow your dreams, follow your heart.
It's so true. I'm a firm believer if you've got a college degree that you already know far too much about that subject to ever be successful. Because literally they give you, if I had a business degree or something, I would have never gone in the construction business. I didn't know about bonding and banking and payroll and HR and all the millions of things. It's like every plumber that you've ever met. I'm a really good plumber. I think I'll start a plumbing business.
Right.
And then you never plumb again.
Right.
Because you're managing vehicles and schedules and bids and people and insurance and workers' comp and all the things that go together to make a business successful are separate. And, again, it's about the space in between the work. It's not about the work.
Oh my goodness.
You know what I mean? It's like people are like, hey, we did it in the 70s and 80s. We told people, hey, you got to go to college. You got to be a professional. You got to do this. You got to do that. And the reality is that life is way better when you find what you love and then soak up the spaces in between, because that's really where life is lived, is in those spaces.
Yes, absolutely. Drop the mic.
The mic is dropped, people. Well, there you guys have it. We created a story for you guys. I told you guys. Now you believe me. Mr. Terry Tincher.
Thank you so much, Cornell. You're one of my favorite people. You're like a fully realized human being, brother. I appreciate it.
The man himself. Oh, listen, and we got Koko Bella having so much fun with us.
I am having so much fun.
Oh my goodness. Listen, until next episode, when we have another entertaining guest, right here in EOS Club.
Thanks for tuning in and downloading this episode of Stories to Create. We appreciate you being part of this growing community of storytellers and listeners. If today's conversation inspired you, please share the show with friends, family, or anyone who could use a little motivation in their journey. A special thank you to our sponsors, EHAS Organization, Cornell Bunting LLC, and Nostril Cheese Chase for supporting the mission and making this podcast possible. To learn more about our work, upcoming projects, and how you can get involved, be sure to visit www.hissinggorge and www.cornellbunting.com. Until next time, keep creating, keep growing, and remember, your story has power.